And one of the other things we want to do is we want to make it so we can jump up through platforms. So if our velocity is like positive, then we don't want to. If our velocity in the z-axis is positive, then we don't want to hit something. But we still want to have like this snap to ground sort of crap going on. Well, let's think about it. If we're in the air, we can just say never collide, and yeah, we're gonna have to do a little bit of work for this one. It seems like. Alright, so if m ignore one way equals true. Well, if it equals false. No, it's the other way around. Alright, so ignore one way, we're gonna set that to true specifically. If like we're holding the down key. And then we do like a jump or something. So if ignore one way, so ignore one way is false. There are other reasons why we would ignore one way. So if we were on the ground, trying to think. So if we were on a platform and we were on the ground, and we were running or whatever, and we're running up a slope, we don't want to do anything if we're running down a slope, so it's like it's not our velocity. So, but if we're in the air and our velocity is positive, then we definitely want to ignore to true. So let's get our current state. So if the current state is in the air, and let's get the current velocity. No, our min z should actually make it so we don't collide with these. Our min z is actually going to save us here. So I think we'll be okay for jumping up through stuff just because we set the min z, because it's going to be like, alright, so the z is this way, and if you jump, we've also got the penetrating, so you're going to like sweep up and it's going to be like, well, you collided with this thing, but the normal is something. Well, let's see what actually happens, right? Like, why don't we just find out? Because the other issue is if we jump and our velocity is positive, but we're like running up a slope, that's a one-way slope, we might jump through the platform. So it's not necessarily, it's basically like if you settle into an object, but that would be solved by the normal of the surface that you're colliding with. So I think we'll be okay with just that like normal check. What's going on here? Didn't stick to the ground. The stick distance was 30, which is greater than 20? I mean, shouldn't that be a mantle? Alright, well, why don't we just... Update snap to floor 1521. It's attempt to mantle 847. So it was the mantle code that did this. Alright, so this is sweep 1 distance times perpendicular to normal of collision plus sweep 2 distance plus sweep 2 direction plus outward nudge. What was the outward nudge? Didn't we change that just a little while ago? Hello Ziden3, or Aiden3, or AidenX3, or whatever you got going on. How are you doing today? So the outward nudge is 1, so that's not too much. Just Aiden? Alright. Well, welcome. I'm working on some movement code for one-way platforms with Unreal, with some raycasts and sweep tests, and just debugging things slowly. Just waking up. Yeah, I just woke up a couple hours ago, so I'm still kind of... Well, I guess I'm kind of awake now, I guess. How do I like Unreal Engine? It does a lot of things very well for us. You know, there's always a program racing gloves on. Yeah, I've got I wear these biking gloves whenever I program. Helps prevent, you know, wear and tear on the palm, and you got to keep those hands warm, right? So you don't get repetitive stress injuries. Since I spend so much time working on a computer, helps the sweat. I don't know. You gotta replace these gloves every couple, months or whatever, because they get kind of nasty. because they just slowly get dirtier and dirtier and dirtier, and you can wash them and all that stuff, but it's they get kind of, they don't wash too well. So I end up getting new gloves regularly. Alright, so what's happening right now is our settle start position is, I'm thinking about this floor stick stuff with this snap the floor. And the floor stick distance, I think, is just like, we're doing a mantle. We've already done the sweeps and all this other stuff to figure it out. Like the floor stick distance should be just like something ridiculous. So why don't I just have like a G mantle floor stick extra, and we'll just set that to like 100 or something very large. And let's just add that into our global utils real quick. So and we'll just add that in our movement object. Well, I did a project in Unity before we started working in Unreal for Dashkin. One of the big reasons why we picked Unreal for Dashkin as opposed to Unity is because of all the 3D lighting and shaders and crazy ridiculous stuff there. Also, Unreal's got some really good lighting and environment stuff, which we want, which is going to be really important in this game because it's like in a forest and all these other nice lush environments. But Unity was just fine. I worked with Unity back at Amazon we're working on Unity for a game that was streaming onto like a Kindle tablet. And it's pretty funny, like using Unity on a large project, everybody just over-engineered the hell out of everything and was writing their own ridiculous systems. And Unreal, I don't know, what I really like, just kind of as an independent developer with Unreal, the biggest thing that I found that I really enjoy is that you can actually just crack open the C++ code for Unreal and just change whatever the hell you want. So like a good example is I wanted a pre-update loop tick, and in Unity you're pretty much screwed. Like you'd have to go build your own update system to do that. In Unreal, I just cracked open the main loop, added a pre-update tick function, and just there you go. I have my own update tick type. No problem, right? And yeah. But Unity had some other things that were like that were much nicer. Like the audio stuff in Unity is a lot nicer. Unreal's audio kind of blows. I think they just recently. All right, so good. We're no longer doing ridiculous stuff with our with that little edge. So right now I'm working on these one-way platforms. So these things right here are one-way platforms. And I want to I need to set it so that when my character holds the down button, I guess should be what I do, that I ignore those. So let's go ahead and crack open our controller for our player. And blueprints and stuff like that are pretty cool. Mega Man jump. Yeah, we got a few Mega Man things. We're still working on like movements like super rough on this guy. But yeah, we can do some basic stupid crap, like we can do our wall jumps. But like when we jump here, like the guy kind of nicely flows around the corner. Same thing there. Yeah, let's see. Blueprints are actually pretty cool. Like they're visual scripting and they look like all nasty spaghetti, and they kind of are, but they're very nice for kind of designers and the rest getting into it. And they did just add like big comment block stuff that you can do, so that's pretty cool. So what we want to do now is we want to set it so if we hold down and jump that we turn off our stuff. So I'm gonna add another comment here. So we'll have this. This will be our one-way platform section. What are these points called? These. Yeah, it's a reroute node. Okay, good. Whoops. So let's drag that there, and we want both of these to go like this, and then this to go over here. Yeah, that's one of the problems that people run into, is trying to make this stuff look pretty. I've definitely seen that happen. You're like, oh, I'll make like this cool looking bullshit, and then and it's not very helpful. How we've been using it is basically in C++ land, we do all of our heavy complex lifting, and inside of Blueprint land, you're just calling like real simple things. Like right here is, you know, how to play an effect by a class is just like a simple like create this explosion in a specific spot. So it's real easy to just like go ahead and make things happen. Or like making like a log tunnel, or some of these other things are just like a couple little boxes to do things. Like on character creation, we can create a little fat sack proxy dude, and like override its AI to be wandering and all that stuff. And it's not too complicated. Like we're not trying to use blueprints for everything. And I think that's the right way to use blueprints, is kind of do your own thing. So we're going to look at the left stick. I've also made my own input. All these are actions, which are not actual real like button presses. They're just kind of actions. So I want the left stick do I have left stick down? Left stick down action. Alright, so if the get axis value, I don't want get axis value, I want get key virtual controller. Let's see, what kind of stuff do we have here? It should be input. I forget what this thing is called. It's been a little while since I messed with this. Yeah, okay, so it's is key down. And it's going to be on the virtual controller. So it's left stick down action. So if the left stick is down, then we're going to want to get our movement object. So it's going to be movement object. And we're going to want to call set ignore what did I call it? I called it something. It should be enable one-way platforms and disable one-way platforms. Sorry. Enable one-way platforms, and we're also going to want disable. Alright, so the visual scripting stuff is pretty nice for non-engineers, and I'm working with kind of the game I'm working on, if you were not familiar with it, is Dashkin. So the guy I'm working with, Adam Phillips, is not an engineer, so he can actually use the blueprint stuff, which is pretty cool. Alright, so is key down is going to return right here. Yeah, hopefully we'll be releasing the game later this year, at the end of the year, but you never know. We're going to release when it's ready to go. We're not under any super time constraints, and we're definitely not going to release the game if it's just hot garbage. So yeah, and if you got any questions about Unreal or Unity or whatever the hell, you can always ask me random stuff. Like, people have asked me, like, like, what about Visual, like C++ 15 or whatever the hell. It's just, I'll take a stab at whatever. So let's see. If the key is down, we want to disable these things. So I'm just going to swap these real quick, just so it looks prettier. Alright, so if the key is down, we disable one-way platforms. So let's just try that out with just the down key real quick. Cool, so that actually looks like it's working. That was that really wasn't that hard. Jesus. Like, alright, there we go. We got one-way platforms. I just got to wonder why we're falling through. I'm releasing it, so I guess maybe I'm gonna have to go take a look. So let's take a look. I want to add some logging here for when we enable or disable. Thank you for following, Aiden. Oh, Karakan, do you know Aiden? Is that where all the celebrations are coming from? I don't remember if he's made an appearance before. Maybe that's just me and not having good memory. Alright, so what I'm looking for is an info log on enable or disable. Enable one-way platforms, enable. So we're just going to call set ignore to false and set to true. And so I'm going to say if ignore equals ignore one way. We're just going to do return. Otherwise, we're going to do an info log. Setting ignore one way to true. Otherwise, false. First time caller, first time whacker, first time timer. Alright, cool. So this should log us out. It looks like one-way platforms are working, except I held down the down key, and it looked like when I was moving too quickly, I didn't land on the platform, which I'm not sure if it's a problem with my blueprint or a problem with my logic somehow else. Because I'm definitely landing at the bottom thing, so it has something to do with ignoring one-way platforms, I imagine. But I've got some extra logic in there for, like, if we're inside of an object and some other ridiculous stuff, so... we will have to see. Alright, so if I hold down, setting it to true, false. Alright, it looks like it's a blueprint problem. Yeah, it's right here. And that's one of the problems with blueprints I find is sometimes I want just like an exit node sort of thing going on. And maybe it's I'm just bad at blueprints. Let's turn our after image back on. It's a really shitty after image. Wow, one-way platforms were a hell of a lot easier than I thought. Alright, I'm just going to disable the after image thing, and let's actually put... can I have a constant here? I'll just add a variable, and I'm just going to have it be enable after image. And this is going to be by default value. Please compile the blueprint. Alright, we'll compile it. It should be defaulted to false. We're going to get this, and let's do an AND gate. So we're going to AND this together here. So we can enable and disable this sort of thing. Work for the day done. Play Pharaoh. Yeah. I might. I might just do that. The other thing is this key down needs to be another thing as well. I need to check if we're on the ground, and so yeah, I need the actual movement state. So I need to get the state. Let's see, what's the name of the function for that? Get movement state. Alright, so get movement state. No, not set. Damn it. Get movement state. Is it not a blueprintable accessible function? It's not. Alright, well, let's make it blueprint accessible. Same thing with movement type. and then we'll recompile this real quick and save and quit. Alright. Well, it's nice when these things actually kind of, you know, work. As opposed to being just like a complete gigantic pain in the ass. It's also sort of, when you're building a game engine, you start making things easier for yourself. Like if you maintain a clean house, you'll very quickly be able to do all sorts of complicated stuff very simply, just because you already know everything about. You're kind of building a world within a world, and you control everything within inside of your little world. And as long as you keep everything consistent and nice, you can start being like, oh, well, I just have to do this, and then boom, we can move and do all sorts of crazy stuff. So, very good. It's also pretty cool to actually see the one-way platforms working properly there. Just like we're not getting stuck inside of it. We're using simple rules for it, and it's working. And that's always nice to have, where you don't have like a whole bunch of hacks and crazy bullshit going on. Alright, so basically what we want to do is we want to grab the movement state and we want to do a like switch on, it's not movement mode. It is movement state. It's Dashkin movement state. Alright. Alright, so we're going to plug this guy in here. And if we are flying, sliding, stationary, moving, rising, falling, all that stuff, it's basically this doesn't seem correct. We want the physics state is what we want. Yeah, get physics state. Alright. And then we want to switch E-can physics state. There we go. Sometimes things can be easy. Well, we'll see when we're actually finished here, if it's easy or not. Alright, so if we're in the air, if we're holding down, then that's what we're going to want to do. So we want to take this, and that is our thing. We're going to want this condition to kind of blob out kind of like this, I think. So it's in the air, then we'll go down here, otherwise we'll... So it's going to be if the key is down and I think it's going to be like is triggered. So it's going to be on ground. Like if we just have it triggered, I think we want to have it if the key is down for the B action. So I mean, we could not copy paste this, but I think we probably should, because it might be simpler just to keep it all separated, because if you ever change something, then it's easier to only change the thing that you want, and I don't want to spend too much time making some blueprint stuff look like super pretty or something. Just seems like a waste of time. So this will be like the on ground stuff, and otherwise if we're not on ground and we're not in the air, we're just gonna enable the one-way platforms. And we want to reroute node at the bottom right of this. Just to clean it up. So let's see if this actually works. So what we should have is if the left stick is down and the B key is down, then things will happen. Alright, so I hold down, hit B. So if I'm running and I hold down and B, yeah, I can just... And I guess it should be down in A, because A is jump. But I'm jumping when I hit A. So what we want to do is if key is triggered A action and down is not held, so we need to do left stick down action. Key triggered? No, it's going to be key held. Left stick down action is down, and we need to, or wants to jump. We need to do an and here. Whoops, that should have. The virtual controller should be just controller, right? So we shouldn't have to bother with some of these nodes here. So we can actually just control click that over there and get rid of these two. Alright, cool. So if I hold down an A, that's not working at all. Alright, so it's this needs to be a knot. Alright, well. There we go, one-way platforms. So let's have a one-way platform here that is kind of different and make sure it works. Let's have a 45-degree one. That's cool. Like, just, you know, look at that. You run up it, or you can run through it. And I would like it that I hold down here, that I would not run up it. Alright, well, we do have a problem there with turning around and getting stuck in the platform is what it looks like. Well, I think we need to just have the turnaround stuff respect the one-way stuff. We can temporarily turn it so we can do the We'll fix one thing at a time. So we'll fix the turnaround stuff. It's not is overlapping with world, it's got to be something with our transform. So it's the set direction stuff. What we want to do is we want to set like a boolean here for like ignore platform override. It's like the ignore penetration, so it's like bool and ignore penetration. One way. And we want to like set this to true, and then we want to set it to false. Ignore penetration one way is false and then true. Okay, that's what we should be doing. Alright, so we want bool ignore one-way penetration. So what this should do is this should allow us, when we turn around and all that, that we can actually ignore this or not. So normally this is true, and that'll let us move through the platforms. But when we turn around, it sticks like the back of our foot through the platform, which we don't want. I could also set like never flip. Never flip physics components and something like that, because I might just want that for some stuff. Just to be like, I don't give a damn, like his physics had always better be correct, damn it. It should always be, you know, rotated around the pivot properly, and just like, we're just not gonna fuck with it. Would that do anything for any of these animations? I don't think so. I think we're moving the animation pivots and moving all those things properly, so I might just want to do that. Alright, so ignore one-way penetration should be respected by the movement utils. Alright, so bool ignore penetrating equals object ignore one. And why don't we just go ahead and set that never rotate Boolean flag as well. Never rotate physics, or yeah, never rotate physics body. This is going to be void set never rotate physics bodies. Cool. Should rotate. Because we've had so many little issues with that rotation stuff that it should just be set rotate physics bodies. M rotate physics bodies. Say true. So let's call set on it. Alright, so basically what we want is if we are facing left, so well, why don't we just make sure our dude doesn't fall through first. And then we'll have this never rotate in there. Yeah, this is just like yeah. For every cached component. And that's every physics component. Which I guess, are the cached components only body components? Yeah, they're all only physics types. Well, it looks like it fixed it for the most part, but still has issues. Yeah, it fixed it kind of. I think we're just gonna turn on the never rotate physics stuff. Alright, so if rotate physics bodies equals false, then what we want this angle to be is basically, we want this angle to be what is the F rotator constructor? It's roll. Pitch, roll, yeah, so this is the roll. I guess it's an else here.